What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and I'm joined by a very special guest today, one of my favorites around, been one of my favorites for a long time. He is the host or co-host of the Dunker Spot over on Yahoo, the great Steve Jones. Steve, how you doing?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm happy to be here. Good to be here with you, Adam, man. Always appreciate you, and ready to talk some hoop, man.
For sure, man. And we were reminiscing before we went back here. It was like 7 or 8 years ago when we first did a podcast together. And, you know, you were just starting out. I was more or less just starting out, and we did a show together. And I remember I was telling you before, but I told you, hey, man, rising star in this business. You know your stuff. You're very entertaining to listen to, a fantastic analyst. And, you know, I'll give you a compliment here. You're very good at Twitter analysis. And what I mean by that is some people will hop on Twitter. They're very bad at it, or it could be almost annoying. You do a great job of sharing interesting details on the timeline, man. I always look forward to it. And you're a high volume insight guy too.
I appreciate that. Always appreciate the kind words. The check is in the mail, Adam. Don't worry. But yeah, man, the game tells the story. I love sharing it with people. And I think, you know, iron sharpens iron. There's so much good basketball talk out there. We can talk about the game in a fun way, and the game has been producing quality results all season.
This has been a great year, man. There's been some really interesting storylines. I think there's some I almost wonder if teams are playing too well too early, because there's a lot of teams that are playing like very connected. I don't want to say complex, but just, you know, where everybody's working in concert. And usually you kind of build towards that. Maybe there's 1 or 2 teams doing that, but I feel like there's a half dozen, maybe a dozen teams in the league right now playing what I would call like playoff caliber hoops somewhat consistently. And I don't know what to make of it. Maybe the league's just elevated, but right now there's a lot of teams that I'm like, man, they look like they're ready for the playoffs.
I think I agree with that. I think it's high quality play. I think you look at the Western Conference, obviously the Thunder have done what they've done all season, but like if you look behind that, Denver has an identity. They know who they are. Yep. They've grown into that. The Lakers have an identity, or they're at least trying to build habits towards that. The Spurs, we've seen them emerge and have an identity on both ends of the floor. The Rockets play defense. Minnesota has quietly gotten a lot better, in my opinion, in some areas, and they're just 6. Like, that's just where you're at right now, because it's the Western Conference. And then I think when you go to the East, it's just wide open. You know, so all these teams, if you look at the standings, it's all bunched up, but every single one of them thinks they can beat each other. So on any given night, they're going to have a high compete level. So I think it's just kind of made this like bowl of high competition, high, we know who we are. Now we're trying to take things away, and we're getting to the fun part of the season, I think.
For sure. And last night we got 2 teams that fit this category in the NBA Cup final, a fantastic game that we're going to break down in segment 1. Later on in the show, Steve hates talking trades. I hate talking trades. So, of course, we're going to talk about teams that need a trade in order to contend. I think there's a handful of teams that you look at, or at least I look at. Maybe you might disagree, and I actually think it'll be actually pretty interesting in the areas we disagree. But teams we look at and say, yeah, they're good, but they have a ceiling unless they shake things up. Their ceiling is kind of low. We'll look at a couple of those teams and see who they are. And then, of course, at the end, I have my guys. Legler has his guys. What about Steve? Steve's a hoops junkie. I'm sure there's some like 7th, 8th man out there that you just love irrationally. We all have them, Steve.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to reveal them. I remember watching you Legs reveal yours. I was like, that's good stuff right there. And I was like, wait, you guys took all my guys. Who do I have left?
There you go, man. There you go. Let's start, though, with the NBA Cup final. Last night, the Knicks get the win 124-113. It was a great game. The Spurs had an explosion. Victor Wembanyama had an explosion at the end of the third quarter, and it looked like the Spurs were doing what they've been doing for the last month of the season, which is making this move, pulling away, and all of a sudden you're like, dang, this team's good. How come we can't go on a run with them? But the Knicks opened that fourth quarter with a haymaker, in particular on the offensive boards, where they just got, it felt like a million second chance points. And they made their run to take a lead and then just out executed, I thought, down the stretch against the Spurs. But what stood out to you about this game? Why did it go the way that it went?
Well, I think it's a credit to both teams, the quality of play they had. I think they both kind of proved themselves. But I think with the Knicks, what we've seen of late is just who they are, their identity, and their belief in what they do on both ends of the court. And so I think the last 10 games have been top 5 in offense and defense, and they've just found that blend on both ends of the floor. So San Antonio was controlling the tempo. They had the guard play going. Wemby was in and out, obviously, but the defense was kind of strong. So it just felt like that third quarter was shifting towards them. And then the Knicks very quickly kept playing with and doing what they do. So when you watch them play, it's pace, it's tempo, but they just stick with it. They get to the next action. They keep pressure on you, and you see cuts from the wing. And now all of a sudden they hit 2 quick threes, and instead of you controlling an 11-point game, it's down to 5. And now, even though the Knicks aren't necessarily, I think they're good defensively. I think they could be better defensively, but it's not what they do to the same degree as in years past. And I think that's part of their evolution. It's like, we can do this and we're working towards that, but it's not all that we have to do. And so they keep pressure on you offensively. They get after it defensively. You look up and now, this is a whole different ball game. And so I thought the credit I gave to the Knicks was them playing together and playing through what was a tough stretch.
I mean, there's no question about it. By the way, this is our game breakdown presented by FanDuel. We always break down a game to start the show. So the defense is part of it, and they had some big time stops in key moments. But I also thought, going into the fourth quarter when the Spurs made their run, part of me wondered if the Knicks were going to slow down because they had the shorter rotation. They had guys playing heavier minutes. It's been the case. And I thought, okay, here comes the Spurs youth. They're gonna work them. But the Knicks outworked the Spurs to start that, in particular on the offensive glass. And I think part of what happens, it's not about how well your defense is in the half court. Do you wear them down on both ends of the court? And I thought the Knicks wore the Spurs down a little bit, sped them up. But also, when you have to defend 2-3 possessions in one possession because they're getting these second chance points, all of a sudden now your offense has to an extra 3-4 seconds to catch its breath, catch its rhythm. And I thought that's what was going on with the Knicks, that they had physically sort of abused them to start that quarter in a way that put the Spurs on their heels, even on the offensive end, and led to the Knicks getting some stops.
No, I think that's a fair point. I think that's just the pressure the Knicks put on you on both ends of the court. I think with San Antonio, they're at their best. Obviously, they have really strong guard play throughout the lineup, but when they can have execution in the half court mixed with transition, mixed with flow, and obviously Wemby being back has been a positive for them because they have the best of both worlds. We have Victor Wembanyama who can draw attention. We can use different sets to keep pressure on you, but we also have Fox, Castle, and Harper who are going to get downhill and kind of keep us flowing. Luke Cornett saying all sorts of random screens. When they're having to face a set Knicks defense with money on the line, it changes a little bit. You saw the physicality ramp up from New York. You saw the activity ramp up a little bit. And I think to your credit, and as you said, I think what New York did was they executed in the half court. And so when we talk about Mike Brown wanting more pace and more tempo, it's not necessarily just playing quicker. It's getting to a second action. It's getting deeper in the clock with comfort. It's Jalen Brunson starts an action, or maybe Jalen Brunson ends an action. There's freedom for Mikal Bridges to go. There's freedom for Tyler Kolek to operate. So they just kind of took San Antonio past defending the first 2 actions, made them defend deeper in the clock, and got the shots they wanted. And I think that's where you credit the Knicks for understanding, okay, we don't have to purely go Jalen Brunson hero ball. It's an option, but we can get to it in a different way.
Well, I think to that point, when I think of the Knicks, I think of Jalen. So much of it falls on Jalen Brunson's shoulders that analyzing them almost simplifies how you analyze them, because you're really asking, can he get it done versus this? What can this team do against him? But part of what was so promising, if you're a Knicks fan, this is a big win. This is a big run that they're on right now, where they're starting to look like the favorites in the East, and then you're starting to wonder, okay, but how good can they be? Can they compete with these top teams in the West? And if your answer to that is yes, you believe it because they felt in that big game in the clutch, not like Jalen Brunson's team in the best way, not in the team that's like, what can you do for us? The movement you're talking about, the secondary actions, but then also how do guys play off ball? First of all, you got bigger contributions from Mitchell Robinson on the boards and then Jordan Clarkson's shot making. But Tyler Kolek, to me, was the guy watching him play. You need to have guys, Josh Hart's one of these guys that just understands where the pressure points are when you're an off-ball player. And he had the cut he had along the baseline and then the finish under the rim. I think Wemby was on the court at this point too. those are the seams that matter. Like, how well do guys find the seams off ball so that the ball can get moving and it's not just Jalen Brunson. You're working with space, but he still has to make a play. It's like, nope, find an opening. So now you're an open layup. And I think Tyler Kolek is an example of a guy that really understands that and has the shot making to, if he's open on the perimeter, you could kick out to him, he's going to finish it. That's such a valuable thing for this team. So for me, it was the Knicks' depth that won this one. And that's the most promising thing you can say about the Knicks coming out of this tournament.
Yeah, and I think Kolek is someone who just does his job, and he does it well. Like, you need me to run something, that's fine. I pick and roll, I can just Nash dribble, keep it alive, get it off of it, and he's playing with a little bit more confidence offensively. You put the work in. You look at the lineup the Knicks had out there in the fourth quarter. Mike Brown was not afraid to throw a 3-guard lineup out there. So even with the night the OG had, Bridges contributing, you see Clarkson, Kolek, and Brunson out there together, and now to the Brunson portion of it, hey, we can attack matchups a little bit. So that's where we can, okay, let's put some different guys in pick and roll. Let's see how the Spurs react. Are your switches going to be clean? Can we get different offense that way? And so I just think their guard play, their confidence really shines through. And like Josh Hart, I've loved him in the starting lineup for the Knicks. I think he's just been someone that elevates what they do on both ends with his ability to be a connector. Like I can be a screener. I can keep it moving. I can grab and go, get us in stuff quick. So the Knicks just kind of have a feel about them right now.
You also need a second ball handler. I mean, McBride obviously plays this role for them, but you need a second ball handler. They were pressuring Jalen Brunson. It just wears you down. It slows things down. You have to start your offense from further up the field, which Brunson's comfortable with, but it still causes delays, especially in the clutch. And I thought Kolek provided a relief from that. You remember the play down the stretch where Dylan Harper stole it or forced the backcourt against Jalen Brunson. Even great ball handlers, it's just exhausting to do that. So Tyler Kolek stepping into that role and doing it so well, to me, is a big deal. And now I wonder, like, the rotation when you have everybody fully healthy, the Knicks in years past, it's been like they've had two guys off the bench that you really trust, and they only play a limited role and they do this or that, but you really go to your five. I look at it now and I go, I think they might have 9 real guys. When you get to a playoffs, 9 real guys, and that's a big deal to have 9. 9 is 8 in the playoffs is probably enough for any one game. 9 will get you through 4 rounds. I think they have 9 real guys.
I think I agree with that as well. And I think what I like is they just have a little bit of versatility about them. And I think you need that lineup versatility to get through different playoff series. And so you're going to have moments where it might be a Jordan Clarkson series. Maybe it's a Deuce McBride series. Maybe it's a double big series. Everyone loved that lineup in combination. So they can kind of mix and match in a different way that I think suits them for the journey of the regular season and then the matchups of the playoffs.
Yep. What else stood out to you about this game? What else was a big deal?
I mean, I was really impressed by Stephon Castle in that game. Shooting numbers were what they were, but he's been really impressive to me with his control and his improvement. I think for a young guard, being able to, understand where the passes are and make the right reads. And, I think he had a few skip passes over the last few games where I'm like, ooh, okay, I like this. But having the patience, seeing the unders, getting back in the paint, keeping pressure on teams, the defense that he played, the full court pressure, some of those possessions against Brunson, they were willing to have him guard a whole lot of people. He just really impressed me. I like the Spurs moxie. I like the way they play together. I like the way they emphasize pace, they emphasize movement. They try and play together as a team defensively. And I think we've seen them grow. And so I think them getting the best of both worlds of, okay, Victor Wembanyama had that start. We lost him. Right. Now we have to lean into more movement. We have to lean into our guard play, which, I mean, I don't think you have to debate between Fox, Castle, and Harper. Why not just have 48 minutes of really good guards? Like, I think that's okay. And then being able to have more movement, I just think they're setting themselves up for success long term. And I think that's a good thing for a young team.
As much as I agree with you, and that has been the case for them over this season and the run that they're on right now, I thought that was not the case in the final, 5 minutes of this game. And that's honestly what I think the difference was. Obviously, the Knicks went on their run. They're grabbing the offensive rebounds. That's how they came back in it. But the game, it was still a game in the clutch. And I thought that the Spurs, and I've watched enough of them recently, they have been poised in these moments. They have actually been pretty good in the clutch. I thought that the Spurs and Wembanyama in particular made one too many early hero plays. There was like quick threes pulled up in transition, trying to get to the ball. Wemby missed a shot. I know somewhere it was like 3 minutes to go, misses a shot. Spurs get the rebound. I think it was Harper gets the rebound. And Wemby tried to go right at him as if like, give it back to me. I missed, but I'm not going to miss again. And he almost ran into Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper kind of almost bumps around him, slows him down, goes to a left-handed layup that just wasn't anywhere close. And I thought that was kind of indicative of the final possessions, where it was they had time in the game to just chip away. It was like a 5-point game. You need maybe 3 possessions. Just find your rhythm again. And they tried to do too much at once. And I felt like it was the first time it stood out to me because I'm like, the Spurs team is young. Are they ready? That was the first time recently where I thought, there it is. That's the clutch moment. You're trying to speed things along a little too much. And it really was why I thought they lost the game.
I think it's fair. And I think that's part of a young team's journey, is learning how to win in these scenarios. Like, they have a record that gives you a certain amount of respect, but they still have to figure out, okay, what's our go-to actions? What's our go-to sets? How are we running it? Like, the positive of Victor Wembanyama is you can kind of treat him like a little bit of a sandbox and use him in different ways all over the court. The negative now becomes, okay, what's his go-to action? And now, okay, are we leaning on De'Aaron Fox to make this shot and pick and roll? Is it Stephon Castle's penetration that's going to open something up? Are we going to get 2 on the ball in these scenarios? And so that's one of those moments, to your point, the Knicks' physicality kind of sped them up a little bit, but they have to kind of search and understand, okay, where do we go when it's money time? And I think once they get to that portion, that's when they take that next step.
I think they are tough, both mentally tough. And like last night was a tough game. It was a physical game. And I don't think the Spurs are necessarily, that's one of the things you wonder about a young team is, right, in the playoffs, what happens if a team just bullies them? I think they can handle it. I think they're going to be able to handle that, even though I don't think that's their brand of basketball. They're not the most physical team, but I think they can handle it. But it was interesting that in that moment, they just got a little sped up. But the Knicks, they live in that comfort zone, man. And that's one of the things I think when you talk about playoff basketball, if the game gets extra physical, does your team get better or worse? I think the Knicks get better.
I agree with that. I think they're comfortable dealing with that kind of like contact, and like I think that's where the beauty comes, where we can play both styles a little bit. Like, it didn't feel like they were overwhelmed by, okay, we go a little bit slower. Let's get what we want. Let's have that execution. Let's take our time. And you felt them, like, opposed to last year where this would be walk it up time. This would be walk it up. 14 on the clock. Let's run a pick and roll. Let's see what happens. No. Let's get the ball up the court. We don't have to rush it. Dribble handoff. Get to the next side. Let's keep pressure on them. As opposed to the Spurs, where they were kind of in between some of the quick shots you mentioned, and also, okay, we need a good one. Let's take 8 seconds to get into this first action. Oh no, we're in one pick and roll time. That's the kind of danger they're in. But I think the Knicks just kept it flowing.
All right, this feels like a hot take, but I think we honestly have to look at these types of things just because we're trying to figure out Wembanyama and where the weak points are in his game, right? Is opponent offensive rebounding the weak point for the Spurs and for Wemby? Last night, obviously, it was very loud when Mitchell Robinson was grabbing offensive rebound after offensive rebound. Is that the best way to mitigate Wemby, is to say, you know what? He can't block shots and rebound at the same time?
I think it's definitely a way. I think here's the thing for me with offensive rebounding, and this is my old man take, is I'm like, it's important and I understand, but I do think these teams would prefer to make the shots. I just had to get that out of my system. But
you know what? I'm going to disagree with you on this. But I want to hear it. I want to hear
it. But what I would say is, like, I think it feels like in the OKC game, we saw Wemby switching, getting back to be the low man, staying on the block and positioning. I felt like the Knicks were, 1, ready for that, and 2, kind of exploited that. And so he was just kind of lingering around the paint a little bit in a different way. And so in those moments, yeah, we can hit you. We can crash the glass. We can get a body on you because you're already low. Let's crash. Let's see what we can get. And so I think there's a way you can exploit some of what Wemby likes to do as far as hanging around the rim and just kind of playing off it. Josh Hart did it a couple times early where he's like, okay, if you switch on me, cool. You're going to go back there. I'm going to go to the top of the key, and you have to figure out where I'm at.
Right. And so I would just wonder if that's going to be part of it going forward. I mean, this is the thing. I always tell young fan bases, doing this show, I'm sure you get it. Every fan base, no matter what you say about them, they think you're insulting the team. When we get young teams who are in their first cycle of being like in this status, and people are like, why is everybody disrespecting? It's not disrespect. We look at every team at the top and say, what is their weak point? What is the reason if they don't win it this year, it's going to be because of that? And so that's all you're doing with the what I'm doing with the Spurs now is looking at it and saying they're so good at so many things, but what is the vulnerability? And as the season goes on, teams find those vulnerabilities. Oh, they didn't rebound the ball very well. 32 offensive rebounds or whatever it was in this game. How many was it? Maybe I made that number up. It was 23. I got it backwards. 23
There we
offensive
go.
rebounds. Yeah. 32 would have been incredible. 23 is incredible. 23 offensive rebounds. So teams start to say, okay, how did they get it? Can we start to press that advantage? Is that something that is just a byproduct of who they are, that they're going to be vulnerable to something? And then you start to pick at that, then it's for a team to respond to. And I think with Wemby, that might be it, just by virtue of, are you going to end up having to play a little bit bigger? They like to play with their guards, put Wemby out there. Is that going to be a thing where teams say, we're going all in on this part of it then, and leave them vulnerable? That is the first 4 minutes of this. I don't know how many offensive rebounds there were in the first 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, but it felt like every possession there was at least one.
It felt like Mitchell Robinson had 8 on 1. I know he didn't, but it was like he kept hitting it and tapping it and getting back out, and it was incredible. So I think, to your overall point, that's the fun of the regular season for me, understanding
Agreed.
how good teams are, and then seeing what their flaws are, seeing how other teams treat them, and then how they respond to that. That's if you learn a team over the course of a season. Like, to me, I always say you're building a book on a team, so that you know who they are, you know how they adjust, you know how teams feel about them. And then you can react accordingly when it comes to big matchups or playoffs, because different teams are going to exploit different things. Not everyone can do to OKC what the Spurs did. So it's not going to be a copy and paste type beat. Not every team can do what the Magic has done to the Knicks at times. So it's not every copy and paste, but you understand, okay, they struggled with a little bit of physicality. They slowed down a little bit. How do they react from that? I don't think the Knicks get this cup run or this cup victory if they don't get beat up by the Magic a couple of times early this season and understand, okay, we have to understand how to take some of these blows.
I think this is even true in the playoffs, that the path a team takes to a championship is important, because sometimes you run into a team that exposes something in you. You overcome it, but it exposes something in you that the next opponent says, oh, okay, I see what worked there. We're going to do this from the jump. And maybe we have better personnel to do it, but it's almost like you have to show your cards. And this is why it's one of many reasons why I think winning early is so important. If you're trying to pick somebody from the East, one of the things I would say is, what if Oklahoma City has to go through San Antonio, then Denver, en route to the finals? And oh, by the way, I don't know, maybe they get a Warriors in the first round. It's like, you might not get a round off. You might have to play all these rounds. And all these teams are different enough that they're going to force you to show your hand. This is what we do when you do this to us. This is what we do. And then by the time you get to the finals, the book's out on you, as opposed to you sweep a first round, you win in 5. You haven't shown any cards. You get to the conference finals, and all of a sudden it's a guessing game. So I think this is why with young teams, you watch the regular season, it all feels like the same game, and you just keep winning and you do this. It's like your hands get shown slowly through the course of the season. And that's one that I'm curious if teams try to exploit with them. Let's move a little bit here. I want to ask this about the Spurs, because I was a big proponent of they should just go all in, speed up their timeline. If you can get a Giannis, go and get him. They've convinced me otherwise. They've convinced me that the team they're building is actually pretty compelling. And the question, so first of all, it sounds like you might not agree with that. Do you believe in this team, and that the idea that their young pieces are going to grow into something here in the coming years?
Oh, no, I'm with you. I agree. I think what they've done is build it so that it's around Wembanyama. We have a lot of talent, but everyone can kind of grow. So I'm with you. I don't think they have to go ahead and put all their chips on the table. And I think you saw that with what they sent to get De'Aaron Fox.
Right.
Okay, we want De'Aaron Fox. We want to get better, but we're not giving up everything to do that.
By the way, he's turned out to be way better than I expected there. I'm not the biggest believer in him. Like, we want to see him winning basketball. Like, what does he do? But I actually think he's playing fantastic for them, and it has been exactly the piece that they need. It's tempting when you look at Giannis and say Giannis and Wemby together, good luck ever scoring on it. So the temptation is very strong. And maybe we'll look back at this 3 years from now and say, they should have done it. But I really like Castle. I really like Harper. And my question for you is, who is going to be the second best Spur? Assuming Victor Wembanyama is the number 1 best Spur, who's going to be the second best Spur in 2-3 seasons?
In 2-3 seasons, I think it's either Castle or Harper. I'm going to go with Stephon Castle. I'm going to go with Castle. Okay. I think overall, with his defensive package, with his growth that he's shown offensively, understanding how to be a better playmaker, and the drives, the athleticism, I love Dylan Harper. I think his drives have been huge for the Spurs. Like, he's just got such a poise and composure about him as a young guard that you don't necessarily always see. But I'm going Stephon Castle. It's the second best Spur. Do you agree?
It's close though, right? Like this one, because I think I was going to say Dylan Harper on this one, in part because with Stephon Castle, maybe it's the mystery thing where I feel like I see what Castle's going to become. He's going to become better at the player that he is right now. Dylan Harper to me has all these tools where I'm like, man, that could break a lot of different ways. I could see him being a guy you give the ball to and everything kind of goes through him. There's two-man actions and all this stuff. I could see him becoming a little more defensive minded and a slasher type player. There's a lot of different things I could see him becoming, and maybe that makes me more intrigued about he could be anything. It's a mystery box. It could be anything. Where Stephon Castle, I kind of see it. But they're both good enough. The fact that it's a question where I feel like the best version of them is actually a perfectly fine, solid number 2 around Victor Wembanyama, that's a good thing because now you have two guys that could become that. And maybe it becomes you have a 1 and then you have a 2A and a 2B type player, which might be how this whole thing shakes out.
I agree. And I love that you said a couple years because I could still salute De'Aaron Fox because I still got him as number 2 right now.
Right.
He makes the type of shots that this team needs him to make and take, and he can create on his own. So, but I think the fact that you have both of them that can be on the rise with Wembanyama, with, the Devin Vassell, who's showcasing, hey, remember, I can make some shots and defend multiple positions. I just am intrigued by that a lot more, and you can now slot other guys in to just play their roles. Like Champagne comes in and says, I'm going to try hard, I'm going to shoot. That's all I need to do. And that Mitch Johnson has empowered that roster. I've loved the job he's done this year.
Who do you think benefited more from this cup run? The Knicks, who are now on a 6-game win streak. By the way, on the ESPN standings, it shows them as a 5-game win streak because nothing about this game counts. It doesn't count statistically, doesn't count in your win column, and apparently it doesn't count for your win streak. So they are still on a 5-game win streak, even though they won 6 in a row. But they have, I think we were talking about the Knicks 2 weeks ago as, hey, they're good. They're somewhat still the Knicks that we all know, but they're good and blah, blah, blah. And now I think they look like favorites to come out of the East. Or it's the Spurs, who this tournament, really it's their play, it's the extension of their play for the last several weeks. But this tournament put them on the big stage where you're like, hey, man, don't add them to the list of teams that could come out of the West. So who do you think benefited the most from the profile raise of this tournament?
It's a good question. I think the Knicks obviously keeping it rolling, but also finding some success outside of the Garden was good, considering their road struggles at time this year. So I think that's a positive, and winning always helps. I'm still going to lean with the Spurs. I think it's validation for your process. Being able to knock off the Thunder, I think, is huge. And you also get the understanding of, okay, we are close to where we want to be. We still have to keep working. And so I think the mix of that is something that can benefit them long term. I think the Knicks, they got their identity stamped. They know who they are. But I think the Spurs have a better understanding of where they need to go going forward.
That's the veteran perspective, right? They've been there before, so this thing kind of like reinforces what we know about them, puts them on the right path. I think it's also them just because if you look at the standings, they're now 4 games up of the 3 seed, which is a lot. It's too early to be doing standings watch, and projecting all the way forward. But I feel pretty confident saying that Detroit and New York has separated themselves, that I would be surprised if they were not 1-2 in the East, especially when you look at the teams chasing them have not been able to be consistent. Whereas the Spurs, 18-7, fantastic. Guess what? You're tied with every other team in the West still. You haven't separated because Nuggets, Lakers, Rockets, everybody is right there. Timberwolves are on a run. So I think that as great as this has been, they're still one bad week away from being down in the 6th seed or what have you. And by the way, this has happened in previous years with the Cup. You kind of push. Every other team just took a week off. They said, thanks, we'll have a little mini vacation. You pushed and played these playoff caliber games. Get back into the regular schedule now and go face other teams. We've seen teams falter, and unfortunately for San Antonio at 18-7, a tiny falter will knock them all the way down to the 6th seed.
That's always the fun of the Western Conference, right? And I think it's part of the credit is you are right. You are a bad week away from looking at the play-in, but at the same time, they are there with the Lakers and the Rockets and the Nuggets, and it's like, okay, we survived Wemby out and we're good. I think the one thing I will say is you should do a standings watch on the Eastern Conference just because of how tightly packed everyone is. And I only say this because for me, I realized a couple days ago there was a moment in time where the Sixers were the 4 seed, and I was like, "Wait, what's happening here?" No disrespect to the Sixers, I think they're moving along how they should be this year, but it's like, "Oh, okay, I need to keep track of this in my brain because like Miami was 3 and now they're like 9, and it's like, okay, things can change very quickly."
Very, very quickly. Right now the Raptors 16-11. They're just a half game from falling to the 9 seed, which is insane, man. That's very volatile. There's also a psychological thing that happens to you. I have to imagine when you're a 2 seed for a long time, for a couple weeks or something, you're feeling yourself. You have a bad week, and all of a sudden you're an 8 seed. You're like, man, that was quick. We really dropped fast.
It feels worse than it is. It's like, oh no, we're uphill climb. It's like we only lost 2 of our last 3 games, guys. I think we gotta keep believing in what we're doing.
Let me give you the hard-hitting question here. It was reported right before we went live by Shams Charania that the New York Knicks, who have not won a title for 60 years, will not hang a banner for the in-season tournament, Emirates NBA Cup, whatever we're calling it. They will not hang a banner as the Lakers have done and the Milwaukee Bucks have done. They're going to celebrate it with their fans, but no banner. This bothers me. This bothers me, not because I think they should raise a banner, but because 2 teams already did and now you're not. I just feel like there has to be precedent. We have to all do it or nobody does it. I don't like that some teams do, some teams don't.
I think I understand the Knicks perspective from the fact that, hey, we have not won anything in a very long time. I don't think our first banner up can be NBA Cup champion because the joke pour in would be nonstop. But the Lakers did do it. So it's like, okay, are you gonna like honor it somewhere in the Garden, or are we just gonna act like this never happened? Like, so is everyone just gonna say no now?
and then what do the Lakers do with their banner up there? Because if you remember, the Lakers didn't want to. I think Adam Silver told them, "No, you have to. We need this thing to become a thing," and so they put it up. But yeah, now it's like if it doesn't happen, here's what should happen. And I wonder if the NBA will step in on this and make them do it just to bring legitimacy to the tournament. If you win one, you get a banner, but it's like the conference championship banners in high school, where it's just one, and then you add the year. So it's like, all right, so eventually every team has one, or most teams will have one, and then you just stack the years on there, and maybe some teams got like 7 or 8 of them here in 20 years. But I don't think you can just not put one up. You don't do a ceremony. You don't slowly play the dramatic music while it rises, but it's just up there, and you say, there it is. All right, we add the year to it.
NBA Cup champions. Just put it somewhere in the building, right? Just hang it somewhere. Like make it somewhere on the court.
It's but the concourse. It's just right by the bathrooms. It says there it is.
But I feel bad for Mike Brown because he was like, man, it's gonna be so great to put a banner up in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks were like, no. Actually, we're not gonna do
that. Another one for you here. It was reported by our own Mark Stein. I believe it was said by Adam Silver in a press conference that the NBA Cup will be played in college stadiums in years to come. Storied college stadium. So Pauley Pavilion, maybe Allen Fieldhouse, Cameron Indoor. Do you like that? I mean, the whole thing with Vegas, I will say this, when the Nuggets broke down their huddle during the Cup games, they said 1, 2, 3 Vegas. I don't know if they're going to say 1, 2, 3 Raleigh.
Yeah, I think part of the appeal, I thought, or one of like obviously there's money on the line, but you do get a trip to Vegas in December. So, I mean, if you're in a certain city, right, you just get to go to Vegas for a few days, and that's not, the worst thing in the world. To your point, where the place is going to be, how's that going to work logistically? Is it going to be a destination for folks to want to travel? I think there's things to consider about it where it's like the NBA wants us to be a tent pole, which it understandably is. They built out a week where it's like, hey, this is what we're doing. Okay, let's go. How does that move around? And so are you going to be able to convince, let's say the Magic make it to travel all the way to, UCLA to see the Magic? I don't know.
UCLA is at least in LA. I think players would go for that. I don't think they'd go for Lawrence, Kansas. I think that would be one where it's like, man, our reward is a trip. You got to take a small plane to get to there and everything. And that's why it's a little bit weird. The environments could be cool. I don't know yet how I feel about this. You're trying to make something special, but a lot of the best, most historic college stadiums are in places that are like, okay, that's a little bit weird to do a major event like this. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about hanging a banner and what you think about doing this at college stadiums. We're going to take our break. On the other side, we're going to get to these teams that, as we look around the standings, There's teams we think can contend, and then there's teams we only could see contending if they shake things up. We'll talk about them on the other side. Guys, it's almost the last minute before Christmas. You got 8 days. You're still trying to find a gift. Well, I've got the perfect one for you. Aura Frames. It's the solution that feels personal, because what it is a beautiful frame. It looks like just like the frames you'd hang up on walls around your house or put them on a nightstand or somewhere around to decorate. You put your family photos on there. With Aura Frames, you can upload an unlimited amount of photos and videos. All you do is download the Aura app, connect to Wi-Fi, and right there while you're sitting on your couch, you could change the photo that is in your Aura Frames just by clicking a button. So maybe you got a surprise guest from someone and you want to show them a photo, put a photo up so that the photos around your house are of them. Maybe you have videos of special memories you want. You're having people over for the holidays and you want to have, it's your family. You want to change it out to family photos. Aura Frames allows you to personalize what kind of photos you are hanging on your house with a click of a button right there on your phone. You can even preload photos before it ships. So it'll come packaged in this beautiful gift box, and you don't even have to open it. You just know when the person you're giving the gift to opens it up, the photos will already be in there for them to see. It's a really cool, great idea for a gift. I got one in the mail, actually. I mean, not to spoil anything. Hopefully my wife's not watching this one. I got one in the mail just the other day. It already pre-wrapped and everything. It's a really cool way they deliver it. So for a limited time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com and get $35 off of Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames. They were named #1 by Wirecutter, and you just have to use the promo code ALLNBA, all one word, ALLNBA at checkout. That's AURAFRAMES.com. Promo code ALLNBA. You can also click on the link in the description of the show. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now and get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Also want to tell you guys about Underdog Fantasy. Fast break, buzzer beaters, block parties are all back. Underdog is the best place to get on all of the action. Playing Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite player will go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Producer James went 1 of 2 last night on his predictions there. Victor Wembanyama had fewer rebounds than what he was thinking, and that was part of the story of the game. And get your picks right, and you win up to 5,000 times your cash. Download the app today and use that promo code ALLNBA to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5 bet. That's promo code ALLNBA. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, or Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, or Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. I'm with the great Steve Jones of the Dunker Spot, a fantastic pod you should be checking out with Nekias Duncan. Let's talk about teams that might need a trade. And really the impetus for this segment was I just keep watching the Warriors, and I watch Steph Curry put up 87 points in his last 2 games. 87 points. Of course they went 2-0. Actually 0-2, and losing to some teams you would think they would beat with a performance like that. I'm watching them and I say they're 13-4. Their most used lineup, 5-man lineups, only played 65 minutes. There's one of those teams that plays like they stagger a lot of different guys, so you never get 5 guys on the court for extended periods of time. But that's part of what makes them great. When they are at their best, and I still believe in Draymond and Steph, even at the ages that they're at, their style of basketball is predicated on having got a team that is completely dialed in and believing in the process that they play by. It's a unique style. And when guys are able to make quick decisions and play within that style, you can win. But they don't have a rotation, in my opinion, that can do that. And they have some guys that don't seem to fit the direction they're trying to go. So I look at them and say, they're a good team. They could probably upset anyone in a one-off, but I do not believe they could win more than 1 series in the playoffs. And if that's the case, it means they have to make a trade. Do you agree or disagree with the Warriors?
I agree. It has to be something different. I think for me with the Warriors, it feels like we have watched them have the same season for 2 to 3 years. Hey, look out for the Warriors. Hey, guys, look at the Warriors. Hey, Steph Curry, they're defending. What happened to the Warriors? Why are they in the play-in? And they just it has to change. Something has to change. And so whether it's Kuminga, I don't know if it's Pods or whatever, you need an influx of something, because right now, what's their best thing outside of Stephen Curry. The defense feels like it's falling off a cliff. They're turning the ball over. Doesn't feel like there's flow when Steph's out of the game. I was watching the Portland game and I was like, Stephen Curry is cooking. They need a roller. Can someone roll to the rim and finish? Because it's just two on the ball. And I'd love Quentin Poston, who's contributed, but it's like, okay, he didn't finish. Now he's popping. And it's like, okay, we're going to rotate to you. We're fine. We're going to recover. So it's like, can we find enough to just keep pressure and unlock something in our team to just make it a little bit more strong on both ends of the floor?
If you were another team, and Jonathan Kuminga is obviously out there. I mean, he's getting DMPs. He's clearly going to be a guy that this is everybody has seen this coming from 3 years ago that this is probably how the story is going to end. But if you're another team, do you take a shot on Kuminga? Is he a guy that you believe you can, hey, he's all this talent. He'll fit with us, even though he didn't fit there?
I think you would roll the dice on fit and context changing things. And okay, this is an athletic player who can get downhill, and we are needing that. Now, how many of those teams qualify for that thought process? That's a different conversation. But yeah, why? Let's take a swing on the talent, especially let's take a team like Sacramento, right? This isn't working. Can we get ourselves something else? You know what I mean? Like if you're Chicago, do you think, hey, maybe we take a swing on something else? Like that's where my head is like, he's got talent. I just would like to see him not in the Warriors context and see what that looks like consistently.
Is it if like the Warriors are such a unique version? You have to have high IQ, young players coming in. It's difficult because you have to like grow up really fast and all these things. But I think that, and there's guys that I look at and man, if he would arrive there a couple years later, it might have been a perfect fit. Aaron Gordon coming to Denver when he did, I think is underrated because he already went through the process of getting all of those things out of his system. He goes to Denver. He's ready to be the exact best version of himself. Kuminga, I would not roll the dice on him. And I think he has incredible talent. Is so athletic, incredible talent. Like you can see why he could be a good player. But to me, he's clashed too much with too many things with the Warriors for me to think that he is malleable enough to be that guy. I almost think I would trade for him after the team that trades for him. So the Bulls are going to trade for him, play him for 5 years, and then move on from him. It's like, all right, now take him because he's gone through those. So to me, I would be pretty I'd be pretty afraid of him. What about Podziemski? Is Podziemski a guy that you think is a guy the Warriors should be investing in this season and beyond?
He needs to live up to the investment is what I would say. Because at this point, okay, there are moments where it's like, where are the drives? Where's the shot? Where's the defense? What's the next step? So we talk about guys evolving, and success, it's not linear in basketball. You're going to have ups and downs and highs and lows. But what's the thing that we can count on every night from you outside of the theory of playmaking?
Right.
That's what I would want to see. So he's going to have wiggle room to showcase that. They need him to, because obviously guard play is important. But I am having more questions this year than I did last year about, is this it? Are we hitting the ceiling a little bit?
I hate that you brought up the Kings and the Bulls because you could have thrown the Pelicans in there too. It's like one of those teams. It's not even do I think he fits or this or that. It's like, yeah, I could see those teams. Those are the teams that would talk themselves into him as like, hey, all right, there it is. We got our star player. Let's go through him. I just don't see the Warriors. I love the Warriors, and I would absolutely buy them. Like Pat Spencer, Moses Moody, Quentin Post, these guys aren't guys that I think are incredible players, but I'm like, yes, but they can play the Warrior system. They know what to do, and that just gives them these depths of players that I think can play in that style. But they don't have enough guys and enough good players to play that. Those guys can fill in a 6, 7, 8, 9th guys in a playoff rotation. But I think they need something a little bit bigger for me to buy them actually beating Denver or Houston, or to put it more plainly, both, which is probably what it would take just to get to Oklahoma City. I just don't see it, man. And then on top of that, you factor in Horford's already missing time. They do have an older roster. Part of it is you have to survive the regular season long enough to get to that moment. And I just don't see either of those two things happening, surviving the regular season or elevating enough in a playoff run to be able to win multiple. So I think they need a trade.
And I was just going to say really quickly to what you said earlier, their path is not fun or easy. If you're in the play-in mix and you earn yourself a shot at whom? So you either win a game and face Denver, or you lose a game to win a game to face the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's not ideal.
That's so tough, man. And then, like I said, you somehow upset Denver in the first round. Like, incredible, good job. Now you're on the road for Houston. You upset them. Good job. Now you're on the road for Oklahoma City. At some point, the wheels come off for a team like that. So they need something to happen. By the way, already 5 games behind Minnesota. There's a little separation going on right now between the top 6 in the West and then the play-in teams. And that alone can change your season because now we're punching up to where our best case scenario is to host the play-in. It's tough. So they're a team that I think needs a shakeup. Another one that I thought for sure a week and a half ago would be the Timberwolves, but they've won 7 of 8. They're 6th in offense, 10th in defense. I still look at them and feel like they are not in the class of teams above them. And so I wonder, are they a team that needs a trade for you to take them seriously?
I take the Wolves seriously. I think they have gotten better offensively. I think Anthony Edwards has made some quicker decisions. I think the problem is they're going to face a team that switches, and that's going to make it interesting. And I don't know if they've made the improvements to beat the Thunder specifically. But they're just kind of been motoring around all this season, just hovering around. Hey, I know you guys are doing really good. We're still here. And under Chris Finch, you've usually played better as the season goes on. Now, the question I will ask is, with this trade, are you looking for the Wolves to get a point guard? Or are you looking for the Wolves to do something different with their big man situation?
Well, ideally, you might have to do both. But if pressed to pick one of those, I think point guard, and it's because of something you alluded to earlier. Anthony Edwards, one of my favorite players to watch. This is not I'm not hating on Anthony Edwards by saying this, but I still think that in a playoffs, the level of decision making you need from your lead ball handlers it gets increasingly more complex. This is not a thing where it's like, you know what, he's good at drawing the double team and skipping the ball. You have to be able to make 20 different reads because at the further you go, that's what's required. And I still don't know that he's going to be able to do that at the level that they need since they don't have more decision makers and table setters. So I think it's probably a little bit more of that direction. But what about you?
I understand the point guard thing, but I am still a Mike Conley truther and appreciator, and I believe that he can get it done in enough scenarios late in games, but I understand what people are saying. I think the thing is, no matter what the Wolves do, Anthony Edwards is going to get that kind of attention because of his ability to score the basketball. He's just their teams are going to lock in on him. So a lot of the point Anthony Edwards is just his scoring has led to defenses treating him this way. So he's going to have to make the right reads and right plays. Can you get enough around it, I guess, is also the secondary portion. Like, I think Julius Randle's been really good this year. I think Jaden Daniels been really good this year. Dante DiVincenzo has to make shots. But ultimately, is it more important to get someone who can keep pressure on a defense like a point guard? Or is it more important to add something else to the room potentially that can add to our lineup versatility? So it's not just, boy, I hope this person does something.
Yeah. The Mike Conley point is interesting because the league, one of my takes about the league right now is that it's evolving faster than people realize. It's changing a lot, and there's a real personality to this season in particular, which is athleticism, speed, and pressure, pickup points being high. Early in the year, it was like full court. People have scaled it down a little bit, but it's still one of the strategies you have is just to athletically and physically wear down guards over the course of a game. And I look at Mike Conley and wonder, I too believe in him and his skill. But do I believe in him against all these teams that can throw 7 bodies at him, just beating him up and throwing it? I don't know. It might be a thing that the league has kind of evolved to where the small, old point guard is fighting more uphill than ever.
Well, we have
you
a
can
recent
disagree with it. I like it.
No, we have a recent example of that. I think where it changes, and I think it's just, okay, how can we limit the role so we get the most of his experience?
Right.
And I think shifting to where it's not as much, hey, Mike, you have to run pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. It's more, okay, I need to get the ball off the ball. I need to get us moving. I can make a play and I keep the defense in rotation. Those kind of beats are where you need that experience. It's less that those guards are going to be able to really table set and open things up for you, I think, these days. So I think, to your point, it becomes a different scenario. And so I wonder, what type of point guard would you want from Minnesota?
That's another good question. I do think it's like a Mike Conley, but younger and maybe bigger. Just, you know what I mean? Like, you need somebody who can do all the things you just mentioned, which are very valuable to them. I don't think you need like the dynamic scoring this or whatever. It's a connector guy that makes life easier for Anthony Edwards so that teams don't do what happened in last year's playoffs, which is we're worried about him breaking us down. We're not worried about all the other guys. We can scramble and do our thing. You need another guy that's like, yeah, but if you overload there, this guy knows how to attack and get the ball to where whoever it is that's open. And look, I mean, a lot of teams want that guy, so it's not like the easiest thing. But there are also a lot of players out there that I think can fit that role, as we've seen. I mean, we just talked about Tyler Kolek and the role that he played for New York last night. Just are a connector piece who knows how to play, but also can be on ball. There are those types of guys out there, even on the dumpster pile. So
I
we'll
agree.
see.
What other team do you have? I'm curious now.
Well, real quick on Minnesota. Yeah, real quick on Minnesota. Here's their upcoming schedule because they're on this run right now. They play Memphis, which, by the way, I like Memphis. I like that game. They play them tonight. That should be an interesting one. I'm dialed in. Then they have Oklahoma City, then Milwaukee, New York, Denver. That's like a let's find out who you are because you're playing New York, Denver, Oklahoma City, and your off games are Milwaukee and Memphis. That's a tough stretch, man. That's a tough one. So I think we're going to learn about them. The next one I'm going to throw at you is my beloved Orlando Magic, who Magic fans think I'm a hater. I actually love the Orlando Magic, but they're another team that I'm like, man, I loved them so much, but they just feel like a team that is incomplete. And the East is open enough that I could see them becoming better with a few added pieces. So do the Orlando Magic, are they a team that you would say, we already know, let's make a move here to try to see if we can finalize our roster?
I think I would say maybe. I'm kind of on board. I think the Desmond Bane trade kind of puts you in a different position as far as, okay, what are we looking for? And I think we've seen enough growth for them to where you could say, okay, we're really bought in on this offensive process. We've got Bane going. Suggs and Black are playing better. When Franz is healthy, he's been good. Paolo is integrating back into this. We have something on top of defense. I guess the question I would push back is, okay, who would they get? What would they break up? And does it elevate them? Because I could see them being better with maybe a different kind of big that keeps pressure on teams or punishes them. Or I could see, okay, do we get a shooter in the room to maybe balance things out? Like, I am intrigued. I'm intrigued by the Magic one.
The shooting part is the shooting part is the big one for me. I mean, people that have been watching the show for years know I love most of their players. When we did the My Guys segment, I've drafted half of the Orlando Magic roster. I think Suggs was ineligible, but I would have taken him. Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, Franz Wagner is one of my first My Guys from like 5 years ago. I love their roster. I love a lot of their pieces, but it is one of those things where I just don't believe the shots are going in when they swing. And that's a tough plot spot to be in. So, and they have enough length and defense on the roster. Some of this is like when we're talking about Minnesota, something they would give up to get a trade might create another hole. Like you plug one hole, but all of a sudden now you're deficient in another area. The Magic kind of have a surplus of certain traits, length, defense, athleticism, like those types of things. They have a surplus. So they might be able to lose some of it and say, yeah, but we're still great in that category. But the shooting part to me is where I look at them and I just never think that they're going to – I never feel like their offense is going to have a consistent rhythm for 48 minutes. I feel like when they win games, it's because they found 5 minutes where their offense clicked. And so that's the thing where I think you can shore that up a little bit.
So is this just Tyus Jones?
Is that the solve?
is that the trade?
We're doing this thing, man. Like, don't you think these players have been playing for so long? They're staying healthy for so long that there's a lot of these trades that come through where I'm like, there was a while where Robert Covington was the guy at the trade deadline for 8 years. Everyone's like, man, could they get Robert Covington? And I was like, I think you guys are thinking of Robert Covington from 2012 and it's 2020. Maybe I feel like we're doing that with a lot of players. Chris Paul, like, is Chris Paul, could he solve it? Tyus Jones, can we get him? It's like, man, I don't know if we're remembering these guys from a while back. Let me give you another team here.
Okay.
I don't like doing this one. Everybody I keep hearing says, you look at the West, there's the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Rockets, and now add the Spurs to that category. But one team I'm surprised gets less love than I would expect is the Lakers. And I think it's for obvious reasons. They're 18-7. They're really good, but nobody buys their defense. And they also feel like a bit of an incomplete team. Do the Lakers have to make a trade for you to believe that they could come out of the West?
I don't think they have to for me to believe. I think the issue for the Lakers, like I think a trade would help them. It would be nice to have maybe another defensive piece in theory, but I think for me, the Lakers have a quality. They are who they are to a degree. We know the defensive flaws and the defensive issues. They don't want to be put two on the ball. So, okay, we're going to mix in switching. Our help has to be at a certain level. We're going to have nights where we can't keep the ball in front. That's not going to change, I don't think. And so offensively, can we just maximize this? Can we have enough lineup versatility to kind of figure out how to get through different matchups? That's the question mark for me. And I think they have enough people in there to kind of make it work. It's just, do they have enough of the right combinations? Do they know all of them right now? So I think I'm a little bit just like, maybe not.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm buying their defense. Their offense, though, I do think can be something special just because they have three guys. Like, I just always think about playoff matchups and how are teams going to approach this. And I don't think there's a lot of teams that can just match up with their three guys. It's going to be a challenge. But at the same time, you might not have to. You might be able to run with them and just get stops when it matters. And honestly, I think that's why people are not buying the Lakers. But it is funny to look up and see 18-7, and everybody kind of has them at the bottom of this tier, which is kind of funny. But we'll have to see it play out. Is there a team that you think that fits this category? Maybe in the Eastern Conference?
The Cleveland Cavaliers.
This one is so tough.
This
one's so tough.
It's something has to happen, I think, for Cleveland at some point. I think we've had question marks. I don't think we've had all the answers. Health has not been on their side, which is not fair. I think we've seen them be a juggernaut as well. But okay, you need more. You need something else to get this thing back on track, I think. So Cleveland is probably the one.
Don't you think? So here's a question I have. I kind of think Max Strus is elite. And I don't mean like elite in the traditional sense. I just mean, obviously, his shot making is elite, his three-point shooting. But for a shooter, he is an elite cutter and passer, swing pass maker. And I think that part of their offense is missing. And Lonzo Ball provided some of this early on, and I was pretty excited about it early on. I was like, hey, man, maybe he's the guy in the closing lineup. He can't finish. And it's almost like he's in his own head about his own finishing, both three-point shooting and finishing at the rim. And it's like snowballs. And that's the difference. Max Strus is going to give you a lot of what Lonzo does as a playmaker. Nobody loves Lonzo more than me. I'm telling you, it's my guy. I love the way he plays. But so Max Strus, I'm not saying he's as good at reading the court as Alonzo Ball, but he's really good at it, man. And then on top of that, he does finish all the plays. And part of me just wonders if it'd fall into place. But to your point, sometimes a season goes south and a vibe changes, even if it's for reasons out of your control. And they might be a team that has that feel of like, do they actually believe in themselves?
I think they do. And I think there's a world where this adversity will help them down the line to where, okay, last year was automatic. This year we have to grind and gut through some things and get back to where we are. But it's reaching a point where it's like, okay, we've got to get this back on track.
Yeah. The scenario for them where this all works out is they're 15-12. They're one game behind the 3 seed. So it feels horrible, but the truth is that Eastern Conference has not separated in that category. And you struggle, you get your guys back, you go on a late season run, and all of a sudden you're a 3 seed. That's probably where you belonged anyway. And you say, okay, this season we went through adversity and now we're going to get home court and we're going to, have the path that we have. So I don't know if I think I'm an idiot for believing in them for as long as I do, but I just kind of think that we haven't seen their roster. The roster we're seeing struggle is not the roster who they are. So we'll have to let it play out. We got to take one more break before we get to Steve's guys. So let's take our break. On the other side, you've got some names. I can't wait to see the weirdest name you come up with on the list of Steve's guys. We'll do that on the other side of this last break. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? Was it owning a small business? Well, if you're thinking about starting your own business, or if you have one, you got to use Shopify. It's the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. That's right, 10% of all e-commerce goes through Shopify. Shopify even powers the All City merch store. So if you're buying stuff for the holiday season and you go to one of our DNVR's locker room where you can see all of our great shirt creations for the Nuggets, Broncos, Avs, Rockies, if you're into that kind of thing, which nobody is at the moment. If you're into those things and you go to the All City merch store, you'll be using Shopify to check out. Shopify has you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing, and so much more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Also want to tell you guys about FanDuel. NBA season is about to take center stage. NFL season is winding down. So if you missed a start of a game and want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
All right, wrapping up here, final segment with Steve Jones. You can check him out at the Dunker Spot. Let me ask you real quick, who is the most interesting, or who are some of the most interesting teams to you in the league right now? The ones you get most excited to check out?
I have really loved watching the Eastern Conference. So I love watching Detroit play. I like just physicality, put the paws on you, get after it. I've liked watching Boston grow. I feel like I gravitate towards the Magic almost every single night. I'm trying to think, is there someone I could throw under the Suns have been fun to watch.
Very fun.
Compete on both ends of the floor. They get after it. I've enjoyed watching the Blazers. I'm going left field, but I've liked watching the Blazers. Has not been the same defensive start as they had, but there's something about this team where it's like they have things, they have stuff, they get after it. And so that's probably my list. Like the Eastern Conference games, I'm like locked in at every start of tip. Like it's like, okay, these teams are getting after it. They're fighting each other.
That's how I feel about Atlanta. I like watching Jalen Johnson, and there's a lot of guys on that team that I enjoy watching. And then my really bad team, my guilty pleasure, I just like Derek Queen, man. So I'm locked in on New Orleans Pelicans. Like Pelicans, I haven't been watching a ton of full games, but there's been a lot of like a break in the action. I'm like, you know what? Let me check out what's going on over here. Let me see if Derek Queen's in the game. I want to see what he's doing.
Actually,
are you a fan?
Can I give it? No, I'm a fan. I love watching the Pelicans games. Great broadcast. Can I give my confession?
Yeah.
I've found myself watching the Sixers more than I thought I would or am aware that I am. Because I'm like, oh, is Joel Embiid playing?
Yeah.
Hey, is Paul George playing? Hey, look at Tyrese Maxey. And then I'm like, oh, I've watched the entire first half. I'm locked in on the Sixers. I've never known until you just said that sentence.
They're kind of a different team. They're kind of a different team too. Like, you know, you catch them one night and they play a certain way, and then the next night you're like, okay, well, hold on. They got some things. So if it comes together for them, it could be great. But I do think they have a lot of coming together that hopefully they're healthy enough to concretize throughout the course of the season, because it would make the Eastern Conference significantly more interesting. All right, we do our guys every year. We draft some guys that we just like that are under the radar. Maybe we think they're going to become very good. Maybe they're just role players that we really like. You have a list. Let's hear the first guy on your list.
I have a list. Number one, it's Spencer Jones.
No way. This is where you're just playing to the host. I like it.
That's my guy, man. Gets after it, defends, willing to shoot. I love watching him play, man. I never understand it. That guy gets after it. So that was my number one.
Undrafted two-way player for the Nuggets. If you don't know, he's been in the starting lineup now for like 15 games, basically since Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown went down. And I don't know, part of the best offensive five-man lineup in NBA history right now, somehow. Minimum 100 minutes. His shot, so he went to Stanford, super smart guy. Have you seen this, that he updates his LinkedIn profile? Everybody else goes to Twitter or Instagram or something after games. He goes to LinkedIn and he'll post on LinkedIn.
No way. That's awesome. Love that, Spencer Jones.
And then his shot, man, if you see his shot, he's the only guy I know. He looks like he's doing the YMCA dance when you make the letter C. Like, that's kind of how he shoots it. He tilts all the way to the side. Very weird, but he's shooting like 60% from three on low volume this year. So, all right. What else about it is you like? Just his defense, his toughness?
He just does his job. Defense, toughness, move the ball. Like, I understand how to play next to Jokic, so I know there's cuts. Like, he just solid. I just like a good solid guy who knows what he's supposed to do out there. You know what I mean?
It might be the thing in a Jokic offense that there's always one. Like, you're going to have to figure out how to make the contracts work in the CBA. Nuggets might be able to have. This is a throwback to like the 2000s when you'd have Dante Jones starting, or every team had one guy that just was not that great, but it's like, yeah, but he's our dog in the starting lineup. Spencer Jones is Denver's dog, and he's really good at it. All right, who else is on the list?
Well, you're gonna catch a theme because Ron Holland is on my list as well, because he's got unlimited dog in him. As far as I'm just gonna pressure the ball and get after it, let you know about it, and occasionally I'll make a three, but I'm gonna drive and finish two. I've just enjoyed watching him play and grow this year. So Ron Holland's one of mine. Just got energy, activity. I love it.
Is this funny because you kind of do see what a person values based on who their guys are? You know, like for me, it's guys that have like, I like weird players. If you have a weird skill set to me, like Bruce Brown's an example of this. He's a guard, but he's really kind of a big, just in a guard spot. If you're weird in some way, that's what I gravitate towards. It's dogs. I like it. So you picked a couple dogs here.
I'm going to continue the trend. I'm going to continue the trend with Jalen Tyson. Give me Jalen Tyson.
All right. Why him? Same reason.
Give me the improved shooting. I like that as the Cleveland Cavaliers have gotten like less and less people have been available. He's also kind of like a 5, so like he can screen and roll and get after it defensively and cut. And so I value the dogs. So don't worry, I'm going to go left field here very quickly. No concern.
Well, hold on. So he's starting this year as their dog, but then on top of that, he's hitting shots. I mean, he's taking 100 threes. He's made 46% of them. You're buying the new improved shot.
Yes. I'm buying
into the season. It feels real.
It feels real enough, and like they're going to be available. So it doesn't feel like he's only making these or taking these when they're not available. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My camera only has an hour of time in it, so like every time at an hour, I have to switch to my other one. It always dies at this exact moment. All right, who's the last one you got?
My last one is going to be Sadiq Bey.
Okay,
you give me a vet who knows who he is, can put the ball in the basket, no frills, no drama. Need threes, need mid range, need drives. I got you, and I'll throw some defense in there. Sadiq Bey is my guy.
He's like a classic guy, though, on a bad team. Like, you know what I mean? So Sadiq Bey is on this team that it's so hard to evaluate just what he actually is on another one. You know, like he's a guy you can picture. Like, oh, what if he got traded? What would he be? And I'm not quite sure, but all right, that's an interesting curveball. What an interesting list you came up with.
Yeah.
I know you had a couple guys too that were a little more, mainstream, and you're like, no, I'm going Spencer Jones, man. I'm going way off the radar. Yeah, what's funny is you're picking guys that are starters that if you ask the average NBA player, would they be starters? They'd probably say no way. But actually, all these guys are starting outside of, actually, no, all of them. That's crazy. That's good stuff, man. We got to get out of here now, though. I appreciate you hopping on the show today. What do you want to promote? What do you want to tell people if they follow you? Like I said, fantastic follow on Twitter. If you guys enjoy live game analysis, he does a great job of pointing out things that are interesting. So what do you want to promote?
You can follow me on socials at Steve Jones 20. Listen to the Dunker Spot. Available where all podcasts are available. You can watch it on YouTube. So listen to that. New episode dropped. That's the extent of my self-promotion. But just be kind to each other. Have a great day.
I like that one. We do have one super chat. The people love the show so much they super chatted. What did they say? Henry says, Kyrie to Minnesota, book it. I don't even know what to put on this since we don't know if Kyrie will be healthy. The only thing I will say is Tim Conley, absolutely a Kyrie guy. Tim Conley loves hoopers. And I think like if there was a world for him to pull that move off, he would do it. So that's my take. What do you think?
I think that's such a big swing. I think it's more likely we see John Morant than Kyrie.
Look, man, I think he would do John Morant too. Like Tim Conley's the ultimate gambler. You know what I mean? Like Tim Conley sees a team and he's like, yeah, it might be terrible, but it might work. Let's roll the dice. So I could see him doing it. I could see it. All right, hit that outro music for us, James. Everybody, we appreciate you tuning in all week. Like Steve said, check him out on the Dunker Spot. Legler will be back with me on Friday, and there's a really good slate of games. The NBA kind of gets back tonight, a couple games, but it really gets back on Thursday, which means Friday show will give us plenty to talk about. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the like button on the way out. We'll see you.
like the mayor.